हेलो, हमारे सभी दर्शकों को माइकल फुलवानी का नमस्कार, आदाब, सत श्री अकाल। तो फिर आज हमारे साथ हैं मिस्टर डेविड नाकमन, जो इमिग्रेशन अटर्नी हैं। डेविड, थैंक यू फॉर कमिंग ऑन द प्रोग्राम।
थैंक यू माइकल।
अब ये हिंदी का प्रोग्राम है, लेकिन जब तक डेविड नाकमन हिंदी नहीं सीख जाते, जब तक वो इंग्लिश में जवाब देते रहेंगे, मीन्स अंटिल यू लर्न हिंदी इट्स ओके फॉर यू टू स्पीक इन इंग्लिश, सो दैट्स ऑलराइट। तो आज के इस प्रोग्राम के अंदर एक बड़ा इम्पॉर्टेंट सब्जेक्ट है, उस बारे में हम बातचीत करना चाहते हैं आपके साथ कि बहुत सारे लोगों ने एम्प्लॉयमेंट के स्पॉन्सरशिप के ऊपर लेबर सर्टिफिकेशन अप्रूव हो गया उनका, और वो पिटिशन I-140 भी अप्रूव हो गया उनका, लेकिन वो थर्ड प्रेफरेंस कैटेगरी के अंदर हैं, जिनकी कट ऑफ डेट अभी चल रही है जुलाई 15, 2002। मतलब उनके केस में अभी 7 साल 8 साल पता नहीं कितने साल और लगेंगे बिफोर द नंबर टू कम। लेकिन एक जो दूसरी कैटेगरी है एम्प्लॉयमेंट सेकंड प्रेफरेंस, वो मास्टर डिग्री होल्डर्स के लिए है, या उन लोगों के लिए है जिनको बैचलर्स डिग्री और 5 साल का कम से कम एक्सपीरियंस है। अगर उसमें उनको चेंज कराना हो तो वो कैसे हो सकता है, क्योंकि अभी उनकी कैटेगरी जो है वो अदर कंट्रीज़ के लिए तो करेंट है, पाकिस्तान, बांग्लादेश, श्रीलंका, मेनी कंट्रीज़ द एम्प्लॉयमेंट सेकंड प्रेफरेंस इज़ करेंट। लेकिन इंडिया कट ऑफ डेट है जुलाई 15, 2007। तो अगर ऐसा हो सकता है किसी केस में कि थर्ड प्रेफरेंस से सेकंड में चेंज हो जाए, तो उसका वेटिंग पीरियड करीब 3 साल के करीब रहेगा, 3 साढ़े 3 साल। आई एम सेइंग द डिफरेंस बिटवीन द इंडियन थर्ड प्रेफरेंस एंड द इंडियन सेकंड प्रेफरेंस is many years to go. Right. So this is the question that a lot of people have, that I am in the employment third preference category, my labor cert is approved, I-140 is approved, and in some cases they were even filed 485 in August 2007 when all of a sudden all the visa numbers became available. But they know they still have to wait for a green card for a long time. Now one thing that I can answer, and then you talk about how to change from EB3 to 2, is that while a person has filed a 485 already pending, it doesn't matter if that old employer still continues the case or not. If there's a new employer, okay, even in the EB3 category, the case can continue if that 485 is pending for more than 180 days, which it is. The 2007 cases, they can. But then again, they stay in the same line, which is okay in some cases, but not the best idea. So now we are coming to you, Mr. David Nachman. How does Mr. Patel, who's in the line with priority date of 2006, move in from EB3 to 2?
Well, Michael, before we get to Mr. Patel, I think there are a couple of points that are really important that our viewers need to, that we have to hammer home. One is that, of course, the place where you're born is what is the place that is critical for your priority date. So it's not where you hold your passport. So if you're born in Pakistan or you're born in Bangladesh, your dates, your priority dates are current, as opposed to having backlogs.
It's not only him, but there's a rule of cross-chargeability.
Correct.
Let us say that this is a man, Mr. Patel, we are talking about, from India. He was born in India. He has to remain in the Indian line.
Correct.
But let us say his wife, because a lot of Gujaratis also were in African countries, in Dar es Salaam, in many of the countries, Johannesburg, or Middle East or other countries.
Right.
अगर मान लो आप इंडियन हैं, इंडिया बॉर्न है, नॉट इंडियन सिटीजन, इंडिया बॉर्न है, और आपकी वाइफ मान लो कि पाकिस्तान बॉर्न है, बांग्लादेश बॉर्न है, then you can take the priority date of the wife's place of birth. So that is the rule of cross-chargeability.
That's right, cross-chargeability. That's important. No,
Continue.
That's fine, actually, and I'm glad you did, because, and then the second thing that you pointed out, which is also an important point for our viewers to know about, is I believe that you were talking about what's called mobility under AC 21.
That is right.
So Section 106C under AC 21 allowed an individual who had, and there had to be several criteria that had to be met. The first criteria was that the perm application had to be approved. The second criteria was that the I-140 had to be approved. The third criteria was that the adjustment of status application had to have been pending for 180 days or more, and the the final condition was that they were moving to a position in a same or similar occupation.
Yes.
And if all of those 4 criteria are met, you're absolutely right, Michael, and it's a very, very nice thing for our viewers to know about. The labor certification becomes a property interest that belongs to the individual and no longer to the employer. So that's sort of the way that it's handled.
So the way it works is some client have a heart attack when they hear that this employer who has filed for me is closed down the business after approval of the R-140, or that he doesn't want to continue the case.
Correct.
That's not the end of the world. Basically, you don't even need a new labor certification. You need an employer only. ऐसा एम्प्लॉयर हो जो आपको सेम टाइप का या सेम टाइप का जॉब देता है. मतलब आप अगर ये केस इंडियन रेस्टोरेंट के ऊपर है और वो एम्प्लॉयर बोलता है आप निकल जाओ या एम्प्लॉयर का काम बंद हो जाता है, तो आप दूसरा कोई रेस्टोरेंट ढूंढ के और वो आपको जॉब देता है, तो दैट ओल्ड केस आपका कंटिन्यू हो सकता है. यू डोंट हैव टू स्टार्ट अ न्यू लेबर सर्टिफिकेशन, यू डोंट हैव टू फाइल अ न्यू I-140, नथिंग. जस्ट अ जॉब लेटर from the new employer showing that it is the same job and whatever salary is going to pay you. And then the same case continue, aapko purana wala chalega. You don't have to worry about that.
Right, and so that's a nice little tool for our viewers to know about. And the only question I guess that comes to my mind, at least with regard to Section 106C cases that we have in our office, is that most of those, many of those cases are getting interviewed at the district office. And then the question becomes that you have to go into the district office, you have to meet with an officer, and it's kind of interesting because the officers generally are focused on one particular issue, and that is the occupation in the same or similar job classification as the labor certification laid out. And so what we do is we'll put together a report using usually a labor expert, someone who is familiar with the field. And what that person will do is submit an expert report which explains why the position is in the same or similar occupation. Let me give you an example, Michael, of where we have an issue where it may not necessarily be so clear. Let's say you have a computer individual, a person who's working in the IT industry, and then what happens is that they get a position teaching at a local university where they're teaching computer systems. Is that same or similar occupation? Well, obviously, of course, we're going to make the argument that that is same or similar occupation because they're still in the same field. It's computer related. However,
not same, at least it's similar because
similar, exactly. It says same or similar. So that's the argument that we would make.
But the little difference in the salary doesn't have to be exactly the same. Like in the previous labor certification, you were getting $70,000 a year. This is 65 or 75. It's not going to make a major difference.
I'm glad that you raised the salary issue because that's exactly what the officers go for when they are looking to see whether or not a position is same or similar. Are the salaries the same? Well, obviously, if you're dealing with a situation where you have an individual in the information technologies field where they're making $90,000 a year or whatever it is, and then they're going to a college, then there's going to be almost a halving of their salary.
Changes in the economy, changes in the employment, there are certain changes which are known to everybody, acceptable, and the law does not strictly say that you had a 90, you have to have a 90 to move in.
That's exactly right, Michael, and that's why it's so critical in a case like that, especially a 106C case, to have an advocate who will be able to put the appropriate documentation together for you if you're going before the district office and to properly lay out the case in accordance with all of the conditions that the government would be looking at when making this determination of what they consider to be same or similar occupation.
अब ये हमसे पूछते हैं कि आप अगर लाइन में हैं एम्प्लॉयमेंट थर्ड प्रेफरेंस की कैटेगरी के अंदर और 5-6 साल लगेंगे 7 साल लगेंगे और आप सेकंड प्रेफरेंस में जाना चाहते हैं तो क्या स्टेप्स हैं क्या करना पड़ेगा. आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट अगेन मे बी मिस्टर पटेल हु इज़ इन द category EB3, I-140 is approved. He's waiting.
Adjustment of status is filed.
Watched our program. Michael Phulwani and David Nachman says you can also get second preference category if you qualify. So Mr. Patel is calling us saying, okay, tell me how. What is exactly that you want to know for making that decision, and can I get or I cannot get?
Right. So, Michael, going back to your original question, and I'm sorry we took a little bit of a detour, but
yes,
it was a very interesting one and a great one for our viewers to know about.
Yes.
So if Mr. Patel wants to jump the line or cut back on the amount of time that he has to wait, potentially, one of the ways that he can do it is that if he has what is considered EB2, employment-based second preference category, how does he prove that? Well, the way that he proves that is, one, he has a master's degree, or two, that he has a bachelor's degree plus 5 years of progressive experience in the field. And if he can show that, then he has the ability to apply for an EB2 case. That EB2 case, when he gets it, and I think, Michael, on one of the previous programs you pointed out, if he gets an EB2 case approved, he can actually recapture that third preference classification. Right.
That's the whole purpose. That's what he wants to do. First of all, move into EB2, which is much better, but much better than the
That's right.
2005. 2005 is available now, but his old EB3 priority date may be 2002, 2003. And the moment that happens, padap, you get a green card right away. No problem.
Exactly. Works out very nicely. So in terms of the bachelor's...
How do you start looking? What is it that you are looking into the case? What information you want from the alien who wants it? What information you need from the employer who is now going to file a new labor certification? Obviously has to be done in order to get EB2. So first question, can the same employer who filed the EB3 can go for a EB2?
Well,
and if not, which circumstances yes and which circumstances no, then may be a better option to go to a new employer and to do a new EB2.
Exactly.
How does that work and what is needed?
Okay, well, in terms of determining whether or not an individual meets the EB2 classification, we would take a very careful look at the credentials that the individual has. So we would make a determination as to whether or not that individual qualifies for EB2 based upon their academic and experiential credentials. The next thing we look at is whether or not it's normal, and this is something very, very important. Is it normal for the employer to be hiring individuals with those qualifications for that particular position?
In other words,
for example,
is it required for this job that the person should have either a master's or bachelor's plus 5?
That's exactly right, because
yes.
the U.S. Department of Labor knows they have certain criteria that are associated with certain occupational classifications. For example, you and I both know that if you ask for a master's degree level in terms of their academic background for a computer programmer position, what do you think the Department of Labor is going to say to us? They're going to say no.
All these years, David, 38 years, and I've done so many lectures in India and US and TV programs. One very nice example I always give to people about labor certification. What is a labor certification is this. You are the picture, you are a picture, the alien is a picture, this is the picture, then we need a frame. Employer has a frame, which is his job requirements and salary and everything else. This picture should fit into that frame before you can hang on the wall.
Exactly.
So that's what it is, both things. The alien must have either a master's or bachelor's plus 5, and the employer should have that frame. The job requirements are master's or bachelor's plus 5. This is the salary which goes with the frame.
That's right.
And everything else. So that's very, very important.
That's exactly right. You have to match the individual's qualifications to what the employer needs. Absolutely.
We're running out of time, but before we close the program, David, today is Rosh Hashanah, and I wish you a very, very happy New Year to you and your family.
Well, thank you, Michael. I very much appreciate it. And also, Michael, I understand that today is your birthday.
Thank you.
So I think that this is a nice time for me to wish you and for all of our viewers to wish Michael a very happy birthday. This is his 75th birthday, so it's almost a golden anniversary for Michael.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. And thank you very much for watching the program. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, please contact us, and our information is shown on the screen. Thank you very much and goodbye. And thank you, David.
Thank you, Michael.